All right, 6:01. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Clovis City Council. We hear, in addition to Mr. Cunningham, we have a special visitor coming tonight, some guy dressed in red. So we're going to begin our meeting, and about 6:25, we'll take a brief recess, and we will go see if the rumors of the appearance of Santa are real. You have 25 minutes to be really good, because it's all hinging on that. So that will be fun. So welcome to the Clovis City Council meeting. I'll call this meeting to order, and I will invite Mayor Pro Tem Wanatua to lead us in the flag salute, please.
Rise. Join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. Ready? Salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Vaughn. Roll call, Carrie.
Councilmember Basso.
Here.
Councilmember Bessinger is absent. Councilmember Monutua.
Here.
Councilmember Pierce. Here. And Mayor Ashbeck.
I am here. First on our agenda is public comment. This is a time for folks in the audience that have an item to bring to the council that is within our jurisdiction but not on the agenda. We would love to hear from you at this point, and I think Mayor Pro Tem Wanatua would like to invite some folks up to start that off.
Yes. Over the weekend, if you guys can all rise, come to the podium. I had the distinct honor of attending the dedication of one of the benches for Dr. Carpenter, our Clovis dancing man. And so I wanted to invite them all here. I remember when sadly he passed, a lot of you reached out to see what the city can do and see what we can do to honor him, because he gave so much joy, at least for those of us who lived in that area, who saw him each and every day dancing as we were coming home, you know, cheering us up, helping remind us that, you know, life's not that bad, because, you know, he's out there. He's a physician. He's working hard all day and then still just dancing. And like I told my kids, you know, they saw him when they were in elementary school all the way to junior high, and it became an expectation to see him. And when he passed, it was really sad when we saw all the memorials on the four corners there for him. So Sanjay, please come forward, and all your friends and family, please share who you are. And before you do, I wanted to also thank our staff, Sean, for working with our residents to make something special, as something that's going to leave a memory there for all of us to remember him by.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Sonia Hackett Carpenter. I was the dancing man's spouse. I want to thank you guys for putting a bench in honor of my husband. It's been a tough road for me, but I'm able to get through it with by the grace of God. I know my husband touched a lot of people, kids, peers, consuls, co-workers. He was a great light of joy, just like a social butterfly, you know. I want to thank you guys again for keeping his memory alive and honoring him. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Council. Thank you, guys. We wouldn't have been able to make it happen without Bunny, so thank you, Miss Buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hi, we came to the community about 3 years ago from, we started off in San Jose for 30 years and moved to Long Beach for 6. And our son invited us. He had built a new home here. And we didn't know where Clovis was, and we didn't know anything about the community. But we said, sure, we'll come, grandkids first. So I did see Dr. Carpenter. I saw the police action. We live in the Sunny Hills apartment, and we've lived there 3 years. We've been here. So when we saw him, you're right, he was a ray of light. He brought joy to everyone, and he made us feel welcome. And that was the bottom line. We felt that Clovis could be our community too, and we stopped moving around. So I want to thank the Council Pro Tem Vu Bong for attending last Sunday. We had a crowd of about 100 folks that came, and we had a benediction from the Rabbi Shore. He's the pastor in Fresno. We also had a catered event that was just awesome, all hot Mexican food, nice hot lunch for everyone, and even people across the street we invited to come over to eat. It didn't really matter, because it's a community, it's a memorial and a community building event. I connected with people at Kaiser. Most people didn't know he was a pathologist at Kaiser. I worked in laboratories for 40 years. I get where he was coming from. It's all about helping people and making people feel comfortable where they're at. So I want to also thank Sean Miller and his team for putting as soon as the memorial plaque was complete, within 48 hours it was put on the bench in the green zone off Temperance. So if you ever want to look, there's a picture up, I believe, on the website of the bench, and it's right parallel of Temperance, close to Bullard. So again, I want to thank everyone making us feel welcome in this community and all your efforts to keep it great and cool. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We're glad you're not going to move again.
Thank you, Council, and thank you guys for the opportunity for allowing us to speak. And I am Sonia's godmother,
Nice.
so thanks again.
Thank you, committee, for inviting us here tonight, because Sidney was a very loved person. I see that. I'm so thankful that he was, and I'm glad that, you know, he's being recognized as for who he was, you know, and it's an awesome thing, you know, to, you know, work hard and then be forgotten, and he hasn't been. And I'm Sonia's auntie, and I'm just so glad that he has this opportunity to be honored by the city of Clovis. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else on that? Well, Vong, thank you for helping them kind of navigate that process, and thank you for family to celebrate with us. One more, please.
Hi, my name is Teresa. I'm Sonia's cousin.
Nice.
And basically I'm here for support.
Great. We all need support. Never can have too much. But thank you so much. And may that corner always be a corner of joy in the city of Clovis. We'll drive by and have one intentional, joyful corner in Clovis because of you. Thank you so much for all your work. Oh.
Thank you all.
And for Dr. Carpenter's work as a pathologist, it's not a often talked about role in medicine, but plays a huge role. So thank you all for being here.
And I wanted to say again, Sean, Eric, your team, thank you, because we just handed it off to the staff, and they made it all work. So that's how our staff has always been, and so appreciate your work with the residents. So thank you very much.
Anyone else with public comment? Yes, please. And we have a new time clock we're testing out in Clovis, so it's up there. It looks like it's a real clock, but don't be fooled. It's going to start counting up or down. I'm not sure. Okay, forget that. It was working a minute ago. Okay, hi. Go ahead. Ignore me. Your name and address, please, or name at least.
Des Martinez, unhoused advocate in Fresno County. In Fresno County, we have 4,493 people experiencing homelessness on the streets. The shelters in Fresno County are, as I read, Fresno, California, Fresno City, 11 shelters. Clovis, California, 0. Transitional housing, Fresno City, 5. Clovis, 0. Beds for the unhoused, Fresno, approximately 500. Clovis, 0. Warming centers, Fresno City, 3. Clovis, 0. Cooling centers, Fresno, California, 3. Clovis, 0. Access centers for the unhoused to receive resources, Fresno City, 6. Clovis, 0. Outreach teams, Fresno has Poverello team and the Kingsview, which actually they don't cover Clovis for some reason. I don't know why they don't come in here, but they do the rural area. Clovis City has no outreach teams. Where do we go? 80% of the people experiencing homelessness in the state of California are 50 years and older. We have 11 shelters right now that kick out all the elders and state that they are not a nursing home and they are a risk to their insurance. So you now have over 4,000 individuals on your streets of Fresno County, not just Fresno City, Fresno County, because the pit count does count the whole county. So I would like to know, where are we going to go? We need housing now. We need housing built right now. We need tiny home villages. We need people with low income rent, not affordable, because who's it affordable to you? $4,000 a month over here in Clovis, affordable housing will make it $2,000. I still can't pay that. So that's affordable for the rich people, not for people like me. So I would like to know when Clovis plans on building affordable housing for low-income individuals at a 30% rate for their income, because Section 8 does not go up over $980. I don't know what goes for $980 here in Clovis. And also Social Security and disability doesn't go up. That's only $1,250 a month. The rent here in Clovis is way over that. So what are you guys doing with your elders besides picking them up from Clovis PD and dropping them off at the Fresno Rescue Mission or over at the Poverello House? You guys are taking your own community and displacing them from a neighborhood that they grew up in, and you are dropping them off in the most dangerous area in Fresno County. There has been over 6 murders in 1 year, and this is where you want your community to go? These people have brothers, mothers, sisters. You don't have no rehab in Clovis, sober home livings that are affordable for people getting out of rehab in Clovis. There's absolutely nothing over here. I would like to know when you guys are going to start utilizing your funds, taking some of that half the money, HHAP, Home ARP, anything, and start building in Clovis. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks. Here's a stranger.
So I just happened to be here today, and
Did you hope that Santa was coming to see you?
well, he never visits me, but he always visits my kids.
Oh,
so that
okay.
that really is all that matters.
All
so
right, just checking. Hello.
I wanted to thank this council for continuing the annual Christmas tree lighting. I think that's going to be at 6:30. But also, too, I wanted to just appreciate Des, who's here today. She, of course, is very involved in the homeless communities. But a couple of things I did want to point out. I know that the city of Clovis has been a great partner on the Butterfly Gardens, which was built about a year and a half ago, or a year ago, here in the city of Clovis. And the county, of course, helped to fund that particular facility. And it does provide housing to individuals who need additional services, who are homeless in many cases. So I do appreciate that partnership. And I know over the years, too, the city of Clovis has partnered with Habitat for Humanity, as well as other affordable housing senior projects. There's one, a project that was built off of Sierra and 168 for low-income seniors, which I really appreciate, and the name of it is escaping my mind right now. But more work definitely needs to be done when it comes to affordable housing. And as someone who has the pleasure of serving at the county level, representing all of eastern Fresno County, but really making decisions for all of Fresno County, to the extent we can collaborate together, to the extent that we can cut through bureaucracy, because I can tell you as a builder as well, over the course of the last 25 years, it's becoming more and more difficult to build. And so to the extent that we can change laws, bring attention to this situation, I agree with Des, it will help. A rising tide lifts all boats is a saying that Lynn loves, our mayor, and I think that's something that maybe together we can work on. So really appreciate Des being here today, but I just wanted to come up and thank the council for the great work that you do and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Magzig. Appreciate that. We are working intently on it, and you all are aware of that. So we will continue that work. Des, we agree with you. We have solutions to things that you described, probably not quite accurately, but this is not the place to debate those. So we can provide cooling centers and warming centers. They're not centers, but they're in our mall or our senior centers. So we're cognizant of those needs, but certainly a conversation we can have going forward. So thank you for being here, and thank you, Supervisor Magzig. Mr. Gibson.
Hello again.
Hello.
Malcolm Gibson, Clovis resident, Army veteran, and as a result, severely hearing impaired, something I'm going to address, retired journalist and journalism professor, and important to my comments tonight, a product of public housing and AKA affordable housing. But first, before addressing that issue, an apology to the mayor. I've already spoken to her, but whatever you say to me when I'm up here, I do not hear because of my hearing difficulties. So particularly in this chamber, it is something that's being worked on, thankfully, and I'm thankful to Carrie Cha and including others, including Assistant City Manager Andy Hausler, who called me today, for their interest in coming up with a speedy and lasting solution for me and others with this disability. Now on to affordable housing. I am here again, as I will continue to be, to encourage the city to engage the issue of affordable housing more aggressively and openly. It's an urgent need, and delays only make the issue more difficult to solve. My wife and I are not in need, thankfully, but it is something I am convinced from my own experiences growing up that affordable housing will be of great benefit to those taking advantage of it, and perhaps even more important, to the benefit of the Clovis way of life. I am here tonight to recommend that to help make that happen, the city appoint, if it has not already, a citizens committee, 10 members or so, to investigate the issue, then present a plan to the council and the Clovis community in a few months' time, and I think that's possible. Key to success, in my view, is that the committee obviously be made up of members important to the issue, including developers, but especially those who would benefit from the result, and perhaps folks like me who have benefited from it. Important, too, is to look at examples in the U.S. and the world where affordable housing schemes have worked, and yes, those that have not worked, and most have not. Among the places that have succeeded include Tokyo, where 2 full-time workers earning Tokyo's minimum wage can comfortably afford the average rent for a 2-bedroom apartment. Austria, which has some of the best public housing in the world and has for decades. Montgomery County, Maryland, where the government partners with developers to ensure that 30% of housing in most new developments are set aside for affordable housing. And Merrimack Park in Norfolk, Virginia, where I grew up in the 50s and 60s. It was a holistic approach and it worked, producing folks who benefited their communities in a multitude of ways. There are lessons to be learned. Let's learn from them and act, not later, but now. As I said earlier, affordable housing is important to those living there, but it's important to the community as a whole too, because it, along with our excellent schools, helps produce good citizens. Who doesn't want that? Moreover, there's a right way to do it, one that increases greatly the chances of success. And there are wrong ways, as with most cities, big and small, that will ensure failure, which sadly I am convinced some would like to see happen simply to say, I told you so. Which do you want? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Even though you didn't hear, I just said thank you so much.
I can't hear a word.
Tell them what I said. We do appreciate you being here. Thank you. Any other public comment tonight? Well, I wonder if we should...
It's your call. We could push through the consent calendar, or we can take a break.
Okay, whoops, consent calendar. Hold on a second. Say it again. Okay. All right, I'll keep going. Ordinances and resolutions, with respect to the approval, the reading of the title shall be deemed a motion to waive a reading of the complete resolution or ordinance unless there is a request by a council member that the ordinance be read in full. Further reading shall be deemed waived by unanimous consent of the council. Next item is consent calendar. These items are routine in nature. They're placed on our calendar as one action unless one of the council members or someone in the audience wishes to pull one of the items. Anybody on the council wishing to pull a consent calendar item? Anybody in the audience wishing to pull a consent calendar item? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar, items 1 through 7.
Thank you. I'll second. There's a motion, a second. Is there further discussion on these items? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 and 1 absent. All right, so with that, I think we probably should not start, unless the finance, the master fee schedule. Can you do that like in 2 minutes? That'd be really good if you could. Oh, too bad. All right, let's take a moment, and we will adjourn briefly to the Christmas tree lighting and hopeful spotting of you-know-who. So we'll take a break. We'll be back momentarily. Join us, please. All right, we will reconvene. That was so fun. Santa's the best. He was a, I don't think I've ever seen that. Somebody asked me my favorite. Is it? All right, are we ready to reconvene? All right, that was fun. So Merry Christmas, everyone. So tonight there are two items under administrative items. The first is approving the city's updated master administrative fee schedule. And Andy, looks like you are the staff person on that.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So tonight we are bringing to you updating our master administrative fee schedule. It establishes fees for a variety of city services, and the purpose is to recover our costs. It's updated periodically. The last comprehensive update was in November of 2022. Our effort is to do this annually. We did update it in 2023 for the new Senior Activity Center and Transit Center. And proposed fees have been adjusted to address actual costs of service. The areas that are addressed with this year's recommendation is administration and finance, general services, the police department, and the fire department. These fees will become effective January 1st, 2024, if council chooses to approve them. That concludes my report.
What? No PowerPoint slide? No.
They were there, see?
What?
Yeah.
Do it again.
It's all there.
Well, okay, that's it?
That's it. Minimal adjustments relative to the whole schedule.
All right. You want to comment on anything that seemed extraordinary or out of the ordinary, or you're just, it speaks for itself?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Why am I encouraging people to talk? That seems so strange. All right. Thank you very much. Are there questions for staff on this fee schedule?
And I just had a question in regards to the water tower park. Is it time specific only for rodeo?
Yes.
Okay, so people cannot camp there any other time, only
during... It's a special use period for that parking lot, just during the rodeo.
Okay, excellent.
Any other questions for staff? All right, we'll open it to public portion. Anybody in the audience have a comment on the proposed administrative fee schedule to take effect January 1, 2024? All right, seeing none, bring it back to the council. Entertain a motion if that was the desire.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 23, approving the city's updated master administrative fee schedule.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4 in favor, 1 absent. Next is the consider the approval of the 2022-23 annual comprehensive financial report. Staff on this is Jay Schengle and the entire finance department, apparently.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Jeff Blanks, Deputy Finance Director. I'm going to go ahead and pinch it on this one. Jay's got a bit of a cough. However, he is up here. Jay Schengle, Finance Director, is with me to answer any questions that you may have. Before I get started on the presentation, I just want to take a second to thank the accounting staff and other management within finance. This is a very complicated, complex technical document that we do each and every year, and it does take a full team to make this happen. So I really do appreciate all the work that they put in to put this document together. All right, so just jumping in. So just some basic requirements. So state law requires that we complete a set of audited financial statements each and every year. The Poon Group, who are our auditors, have audited our financial statements, and they've provided what's called a clean opinion or unmodified opinion. That means that everything's fairly stated, everything is good. It's the opinion that we want on our financial statements. In addition to that, there were no audit findings for the fiscal year, another thing that we're aiming for, and another testament to staff and all of our controls and processes. A little bit of, just in terms of the document, there's a number of required elements to it. Again, they're kind of listed here. I won't go into too much detail here. The auditor's reports, you have your financial statements, both government-wide and fund, notes, which are fairly dense but give a lot of additional information that go along with the statements. And then there's a statistical section towards the back, and then your single audit report, which is a report that is is all about auditing our federal grant programs. So you can find that towards the back of the document. This slide just kind of lays out where the different funds are and kind of a little bit about them. So our government funds, which start on page 32, those are your tax-supported or governmental activities. Your enterprise funds, those are really used to account really self-supporting or fee-based activities, so your water, sewer, some of those types of funds. Your internal service funds, those are like enterprise funds, but they serve the internal city departments, so things like fleet and facility maintenance and things like that. And then finally, your fiduciary funds, these are assets that we hold on behalf of others. They aren't for government purposes, but are held for other entities. Just a little bit of a reminder here, just in terms of fund balance and cash. Fund balance is really assets less your liabilities as opposed to just a cash basis. I won't go into full detail on accrual basis versus cash basis, all that kind of good stuff. I could, but I want everyone to be awake. So, but just a little bit there, just letting folks know it's not a cash basis. It's a little bit more complex. So from here, I'm going to kind of focus specifically on the general funds. We have a few slides here. If you do have any questions on other funds, feel free to let us know. So we've laid out here just a quick summary. It's just a side-by-side of actuals 21-22 and then 22-23. And see, we began with a fund balance of roughly $37 million, and at year end, that changed roughly 1.1 to the good. So we end with a fund balance of just under $38 million. Now this slide, we're representing some of our more, what we consider to be sensitive economically, the discretionary revenues. So you can see kind of the differences, again, from last fiscal year to this, in terms of property tax, sales tax, business license and franchise, and TOT. Again, just kind of a breakdown. What you'll note, some of the upticks in 3 of the 4 categories. There was a slight decrease in terms of sales tax, actuals 21-22 to 22-23. But the discretionary revenues, those, at least in those categories as a whole, were up 4% year over year. Emergency reserves, so this just reflects the beginning balance and then our transfer and then the ending balance. So $21 million represents the emergency reserve balance as of June 30, 2023. $21 million, it's about 20% of operating expenditures. Again, the goal being to get to 25, but 20% is really a solid figure for an emergency reserve. And this is just kind of a graphical representation of how the emergency reserve has grown over the past 5 years. You can see it grew from 14 almost to roughly 21. So this slide gives a little bit of information about the fund balance itself within the general fund. So kind of some different flavors. So of that total 37.8, roughly 8.2 is restricted. What restricted means is there are some outside either legislation or grant requirements or whatever that says you must spend this a particular way. It's spendable, but it's for a particular purpose. Your assignments, service materials, supplies line item, those are your encumbrances, your reappropriations, things of that nature. And then, of course, your emergency reserve. And then your unassigned would be the remainder. So everything else that is not either restricted, assigned, committed, something of that nature becomes unassigned. Now we've broken down, so this slide kind of gives from June 30, 23 and then incorporates some of the things that were done as part of the 23-24 budgetary process. So starting with 7.4 as an unassigned balance, you have the amount that's been committed to emergency reserve as part of the 23-24 budget process, and then some transfers that were scheduled for a variety of capital projects and other things, some budget amendments, and so the resultant kind of balance available would be 1.3 million. So again, just some highlights. Two largest discretionary revenues, that would be property tax and sales tax. Property tax had a 9% growth, sales tax a decline of 3%. Again, the general fund, reserve balance is bumped up to 21 million, or 20% of operating expenses. And then your enterprise and internal service funds, those fund balances continue to increase and are fairly healthy at this point.
Jeff, can I ask you a question now?
Absolutely.
Just on the sales tax decline, surprising? What can you attribute that to? I mean, it's pretty close to the projected, so it's not like it was off 20% or something, but...
No, but it is lower than expected. So when we prepared the budget and went into that process, we did expect a level of sales tax, and we did not get there, unfortunately, which was about $900,000 less. So when we built the 23-24 budget, of course, off of those, that base, then we are currently missing that as well. So it is cumulative that it didn't come into what we thought, and then we built out this next budget year off of that. So it's not necessarily overly unexpected, but we grew in 2 years, what would normally take 7 years to grow. So, we grew extremely fast in the sales tax area, and so I would say that we missed it, but that we are fortunate at the level that we are compared to just a few years ago.
Can you attribute it to anything in particular, drop in car sales, your retail sales?
There is that number of factors that we're missing, but, as the economy and the people close their checkbooks a little bit, used cars was a factor, home goods, the Home Depots, the Lowe's, the home improvements, all of that really did slow down to where we were at this, unsustainable growth rate, but we just didn't hit the mark exactly, where we thought at that June when we were, estimating in that March, April, we were just a tad too high in that estimate.
Okay, thanks. Matt, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. With the inflation and everything being the way it has been and continues to seem to be going, do you anticipate this is going to be an issue going into the next year as well?
Sales tax right now is an issue in the sense that we are trending right now flat. In other words, as we compare each month this year to where we were last year, we've stopped the decline and we're actually flat from the same period last year. So as we go through August, September, October periods, our sales tax collections are equal to the same time the year before. So the decline has currently flattened, but we are not growing either. So again, we grew, 7 years worth of growth in just 2 years. So it's not necessarily that I would say that it's troubling, but that it is a new reality that we've kind of hit that new ceiling of expectations and need to normalize the growth going forward.
Andy, you spoke a while back with regards to online sales and whether it was a point of origin or whatever the terms you used. Was that ever changed to where it benefited local jurisdictions more?
In some ways, there was some benefit when the Supreme Court issued a ruling that allowed for outside of the state online sales to be charged sales tax. That comes into a mechanism that the city does benefit from, but it's still not fully all the way there where we're collecting all the sales that our residents purchase in our community. So there is a gap there. It's hard to ascertain exactly how much that is. And I'd lean on our finance staff that does this really well.
The sales tax pool itself has gotten larger because of the Facilitator Act, and more sales tax is coming in, but it is to be distributed at, the city's pool level. So it's not necessarily specific towards point of sale, towards the citizens of Clovis. It is coming in, but it's being distributed at that pool level. So depending on where the brick and mortar is, those are the people that maybe are benefiting a little bit more in that particular area.
And have we started to break down if sales taxes are becoming more from those online sales versus our brick and mortar at all?
The sales tax has continued in that area to grow from those facilitators in the pool, but you also have other challenges too, where you have the distribution warehouses, the Amazons that are, have these warehouses in particular areas, and then the sales for that are booked at times to that warehouse. So that's also competing against those additional dollars that are coming in. So they're different. They're different. Pots of money, but one's coming in and one's maybe being siphoned out depending on the agreement with those warehouses.
Okay, so what you just said at the end there, huh? So we may be losing some as well because it's not right at the point of sale inside our city.
Right. So if the Amazon warehouse, has a lot of stock in it and it has an agreement with that city, and there's a lot of turnover in that warehouse, that city itself may be benefiting more so than if there's a warehouse sitting in another city that has patio furniture that's not turning over nearly as much. So it's warehouse by warehouse, just dependent, and it's really dependent on what the Amazon example of the world is, what they choose to store in that warehouse. So if they put in a lot of tangible goods that turn over on a regular basis, that city's going to benefit maybe more so than another city that has a warehouse that's more stagnant with their inventory.
Okay. And then question on the TOT, is that 529 with what the citizens approved, sort of around that range we were estimating? There was a 529 bump that went up.
Yes,
is that what we're looking at?
Right. I believe that was right around what we had projected.
Okay, that's good numbers and great job on forecasting, and so it's a way to help support what we ask the citizens to support or to vote for. So thank you for reporting that out.
Thank you for the interruption. I think you keep going.
Just one more that pertains to the book. So the Government Finance Officer Association, or GFOA, has a Certificate of Achievement program for excellence in financial reporting. The city has received this 35 consecutive times, and we will be submitting and expecting a 36.
No pressure or anything.
Not at all.
You'd hate to be the one that was in the 36 year that didn't happen.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Maybe career limiting.
All right. So with that, so that kind of wraps up the ACFR specifically. We did want to just include this, and we've kind of touched upon it a little bit, but it's just a quick little update as it pertains to the revenues. So kind of as we've been discussing, so kind of our major discretionary revenues here, you'll note a lot of the, say, property tax, business license, TOT, real known budget deviations are kind of tracking as we had projected, but you will note that sales tax figure under our budget, at least at this point, $1.7 million, and kind of holding flat. So as that bullet kind of indicates, that shortfall in discretionary revenues would be a 2% adjustment roughly to balance that. But again, just kind of back to what we've been discussing as it pertains to sales tax.
So if I could elaborate just for a moment. So the TOT, for instance, we are coming in first quarter basically where we estimated, as part of the budget process. So we don't have any unknown adjustment in that area. It's tracking approximately where we thought it would be. It's positive, based off the rate increases, the increased hotel, but there's really no known variance in there that we need to adjust for right now. Property tax is also true in that we won't really know property tax until January receipts come in as to what the county and the valuation has done versus where our budget is. So we'll know more in January for the property tax. But the sales tax information is known now, in that we have been month over month declining until this recent quarter, in which we've now come out of it to a flat level. So if we hold that true for the rest of the year, excuse me, we'll miss revenues by approximately $1.7 million, and if so, then it's theoretically an adjustment would be made somewhere on the expenditure side to balance that. If all things being equal, there's no other revenues, expenditures are there, we would be looking to adjust in some area to make that that balance.
So when we think about the future planning of the city, because we've been pretty lucky that our sales tax has done well, particularly in the last, number of years. So I just think it's an interesting dilemma. There's not a lot of ways cities can make money, have a bake sale or something, but these are the ways. So I just think it's notable that as we forecast out, that if we're going to start having a $1.7 million reduction each year in sales tax, I'm not saying that's not what you're saying, but it does sort of change our available cash. And we have so many needs in our general fund, and so anyway, I think it's worth maybe a conversation at some point in maybe early 24 on what that forecast looks like over time. Because that would be a troubling trend in terms of revenue to the city. And I know we have as a priority to try to find other economic models, other ways to generate some revenue, but it's a pretty short list of what's possible. So I just think maybe bringing that back to the council in the first part of 24 to just talk about what that looks like long term when you have more data would be helpful.
Okay.
More helpful, yeah.
Typically, we bring the 5-year forecast back in the first quarter of the year, and it's probably a great spot to talk about.
Yeah, so I think it would be important to think about what that means over time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily particular to the document itself, but on the TOT tax, do we know how we stack up on short-term rentals, Airbnbs, things like that, of people who are supposed to be contributing the TOT but may or may not be aware of that? Is there a way to kind of see if there's a gap there?
Actually, I'm glad you bring that up. We've actually contracted with a vendor, HDL, to assist us in bringing awareness, compliance, and bringing more of the short-term rentals, one from an identification perspective, but also a compliance perspective, of bringing more of them online to having their business license, having their permit, but also collecting and remitting their TOT. It's definitely something we've identified as needing to be done, because we do have some that are, but the percentage that are versus aren't is somewhat skewed in what I would consider the wrong direction.
I know other cities, we've talked about this over the years, but other cities also have rental fee requirements for rental housing, not short-term, but longer-term, because maybe the calls for service are higher, maybe the needs are greater. So, but we don't have any way to know how many of our houses are actually rentals, I don't think. So, I think those are other opportunities. I'm not suggesting we're going to charge a whole bunch of fees to make up the difference, but I think there's a nexus between some of those fees and the cost of service. John always says that our property tax doesn't really cover the cost of the service that we receive, and so in a rental that may or may not be the case. So I think there's other opportunities we could look at as well. And they could also help from an enforcement perspective or neighborhood disputes perspective or whatever comes along. Could be helpful to know that. Juan?
How do food trucks, how do we get any of the sales tax? Is it just from the rental of the main person who kind of secures the place and then it's up to the vendor themselves, or how do we track all that, or how do we get those?
Food trucks, they're supposed to have a business license with the city of Clovis, and they're also supposed to have a state ID for remittance of sales tax. It's probably to where that owner is registered, not to where the actual sale occurs, is what's likely. Okay. They could potentially split it up between different jurisdictions, but I'm guessing that's not done consistently.
Okay. Yeah, because I see that that's grown more and more of late. Can you speak to sort of the final ARPA funds, and is this audit take care of it all? Do we still have one more year of all those funds? Because I know that we allocated it all, but I see that there's no issues at all. So are we all done reporting to those entities that we received the funds from?
As it pertains to our financial statements and our audit and our single audit specifically, yes. Okay. They do have most of these programs, since it doesn't technically end or sunset until, I believe, 2025. Okay. There's traditionally some years on the end of that wherein the feds could, in theory, come back and audit, independent of you know, our audit for our financial statements, but in terms of financial statements and reporting to the feds and everything like that, yes, that's been covered.
Okay. And then, I just wanted, lastly, just the letter from our auditor, it's a good letter. Yeah, I remember the last 2 years we had the one about the CBDG, and it's all taken care of, and very, very clean letter this year. So great job to the entire team. So thank you. And also, I want to thank them for coming out to the educational conference, setting up a table, Jay, and so got young people to learn about what your team does in city finance too. So thank you.
All right. Anything else for staff? Open the public portion. Anybody from the public want to comment on the annual comprehensive financial report besides the finance team? I guess you could comment too if you wanted. All right, we'll close. Anybody online? I'll close the public portion and bring it back to the council. Looking for a motion to accept and approve the annual comprehensive financial report.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 annual comprehensive financial report.
Second.
There's a motion, a second. Is there other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4 and 1 absent. Thank you, Jay and Jeff and team. Good job. Santa might have a cookie for you if you head that way. All right, next under council items, consider approval of the change of the council meeting schedule for December and January. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Staff's recommending the City Council consider canceling the meetings of December 18th and January 2nd. We can consolidate and move around the agendas, but historically we normally try and schedule the last of December and the 1st of January meetings and cancel them. So staff's recommending cancel them too.
Comments or questions? Public comment on that? Entertain a motion to approve the change in schedule.
I'll make a motion to approve the change in council meeting schedule.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4 with 1 absence. City manager comments.
I have none. My voice is gone.
So I say, wait, what was that? Was that a sound? Or?
I have none.
I have none. Council comments. Diane.
I think this happened since the last meeting, and that was the opening of the senior center and the special deal. I didn't get to attend the ribbon cutting on Saturday morning, but I was able to attend the Friday evening event. And it was beautiful and fantastic, but most importantly, it's just so exciting to see that facility now available and operating in our community. And I'm really excited to see all of the great things that are going to happen in that building moving forward. So great job to all of those who have worked so hard on seeing that through and making it a reality. And like I say, looking forward to all the great things that are going to happen there. And I think that's it. So Merry Christmas.
Thank you. We have one more meeting to say that in case you think of anything else. But you can say it every time. Every time. Matt.
Just a couple things. Went to the Christmas parade, children's parade on Saturday this last week with Vong, and it was the most people I have ever seen at that event. And it is truly one of the main events in Clovis now. It is, you know, from a community event standpoint, it is one of the top ones out there for sure. And there was kids and families, and they were 7, 8 deep lined up on the sidewalks and going through there. So that was really awesome to see the community come out like they did and be so supportive of that entire event. So great job to staff putting that together, the Kiwanis, Old Town Clovis Kiwanis, you know, for running that event and being such a special part of it. So thank you to them for all their help. My only other thing is that on the next meeting for the 11th, I will not be in town.
So you can say Merry Christmas to him.
Merry Christmas, Matt.
Merry Christmas.
All right, thanks. Vaughn?
Yeah, I wanted to echo the parade. Staff did an excellent job decorating Dolly the trolley. Yeah. It was the most decorated this year that I've ever seen it. And so, and thanks to Jeff, I think there was a lot of volunteers. The transit volunteers or interns who helped out. That's what he said, to decorate Dolly, and so kudos to all of them. Went to the Southeast Asian Student Success Conference, and I think the big hit was fire. Your props. I mean, everyone was wearing one of those fire hats, and so, yeah. I just want to thank Carrie for organizing all our departments. Like, we showed up. It really showed the partnership between Clovis Unified and the city. And I know that we go to the African American one, we go to the Latino Success, and so for us to be there and to show students, you know, there's careers here within the city, within your city, that you can work in. So great job on that, Carrie, and the rest of the team. And then, let me see. Yeah, that Dr. Carpenter, it was in the B. It was just nice. Once again, it is stories like this where our staff just works directly with citizens and we keep saying it, they make us look good, because it seemed like we did it, but we didn't do anything. It was the staff, John. You guys directed the staff just to work directly with the residents and to create something in which it was a win-win for the residents, for us. You know, they were talking about potentially doing it at the corner, but then we found a place that was even better, where it's on a trail where they can see the bench. And so I thought that was such good work on that. So, and that's all I have.
Thank you. I was sorry to miss the parade and the Southeast Asian Conference. I was doing my part in the COVID statistics, so I decided I would stay inside, but it sounds like it was a great event. And just to echo Diane, the Senior Activity Center event on Saturday was remarkable. Been to a lot of events in the city of Clovis, all of them extraordinary, and this was just over the top. That team, I'm not quite sure. They thought of literally everything. And I know the team was all of you, so I don't know how you thought of everything, but you thought of everything. So anyway, it was really a remarkable event and really the best of our community. So it was a very sentimental and personal experience, I think, just to see people come out and enjoy the day and have lunch and just sit around and chat, which is all you ever wanted people to do. And I think Amy, as she ended her comments, just said, you don't have to be alone. And communities are built because people can talk to each other. And I think that was a super great example of that. So that was wonderful. Just a quick comment. Today, the COG One Voice proposals were due. I don't know if we had any to submit, but I think today was the day that COG was. So do we submit anything for Clovis in particular?
Is that with the pedestrian bridge? So we have submitted one thing for the pedestrian bridge.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that we knew that today was the day. There was interesting chatter on the Nextdoor app, which I don't like at all, but around the failure of that LMD last time. And how could that happen? And we didn't know. And, you know, I'm not going to buy any of that, but, you know, we should go to the city and we should offer to pay. And so I thought at least it was a good response, but, you know, they've voted down how many times in a row. So anyway, but it was just curious to see their response online. I haven't seen much since then, but it is how it works, right? You engage and vote, and then that's what happens. So anyway, I was curious to see that. And I just wanted to celebrate all the good Clovis news of late. I thought the story about new places to eat in Fresno, I think every one of those started in our culinary center, didn't they? Almost every one of them. Some of them were here when we had that little showcase, the cheesecake in a cup, and anyway, so I was just, shortcake. Was it shortcake? I thought it was such, we got a little mention in the story, but really without the Clovis Culinary Center, I think, I don't know, there were 6, I think, in the article, and maybe 4 came out of the Clovis Culinary Center. So I thought it was just fun to see. And then the relocation of those higher-end auto dealers to Clovis is awesome. So that's really good news. Some new restaurants. So that's fun to see that happening. So just want to celebrate that news, good news in Clovis. Speaking of economic development and retail and sales and traffic and all that, so that was really good. So I think that is all I have. We are going to adjourn into closed session. We are going to cover the 2 items on the agenda. And according to the agenda, we are going to reconvene into an open session and report out from the closed session.
Yes, we're not guaranteeing that there will be action, but in the event there is action, we'll report that out, or we'll report that no action was taken, but we will reconvene.
All right. So with that, we will adjourn this public portion and take the items up on our closed session agenda.